An example I like to use is if the dog gets out the front door, they are much more likely to come back to you if they know something good is going to happen. Welcome to this episode of Dog Leads. I'm Steve Bishop, certified dog trainer, and I want to talk a little bit about being your dog's favorite toy. The very first thing I tell my clients when we get into the training is you want to be your dog's favorite toy. What that means is all good things are going to come from you. So again, the example where the dog gets out the front door, if they know something good is going to happen, they're much more likely to come back to you than if they're worried that something bad is going to happen, whether it's just, getting in the car and going home, or having to get into the kennel so you can go to work, or, just going into the house where there's not all these exciting smells and sights, et cetera, et cetera. One of the key things about this is it doesn't mean we're permissive. It's just we want to reinforce the behavior that we want so that they're more likely to repeat that behavior again. And that's where that reinforcement trainer that I like to call myself comes into play. So we're adding something, praising the dog for coming to us so that they're more likely to repeat that behavior again. The big thing with this is the dog needs to understand what's expected of them. Karen Muller has a quote here, expectations should not exceed education. So even in my classes, I see a lot of times people will get one sit and they expect that the dog knows that behavior and they're going to do it every time after that. And that's not the way it goes. You'll do it once, and then they're like, oh, was that it? Is that right? Is that how I'm supposed to do it? It might take 3 or 4 more times before you get another sit. And the frequency will increase as the dog begins to understand exactly what's expected of them. Good example I thought of was my daughter and I, we've kind of taken up playing the ukulele. The lessons that we're doing start out very simple. So the first song that we play in these lessons, it's only, I forget, 2 or 3 chords. And then the next one is 4 chords maybe. And then the next one is a specific strumming pattern. And so it builds on those lessons. And it's just like my classes. I always tell my students, my clients, that the 3 most important things to me is I think a dog should have a solid stay, a solid recall, and a solid loose leash walking. Not to say other things aren't important, but those are the 3 most important things to me. And so everything builds to the next step. So we start off really simple with a sit, and then a stand, and then a stay. And we just slowly build up to it. And that's kind of what I'm building towards. I talked a couple of episodes ago about the first week of the month. I'm going to do a training podcast, so how to teach these behaviors. And that's kind of what I'm building to. There'll be other stuff in there eventually, but those are the things that I'm working towards right now. Going back to that not being permissive, if the dog's doing something they're not supposed to, we want to interrupt that behavior, but then we want to redirect them to something that we do expect. They will start to figure out that, doing what is expected or what is appropriate is much more rewarding than doing this other thing that I was doing, whether it's running out of the house or chewing on the coffee table or any other example that I like to give. Along with that is you have to ask yourself, if the dog's not responding the way you want them to, what are you doing that the dog is not understanding? So is it the fact that you haven't trained them enough? Is it the fact that you are moving differently? Is it the fact that your voice can make a big difference? They may know to sit, but they may not know to sit. So you have to think about these things. What are you doing that the dog is not understanding? And then you can go back and you can adjust your training method or your technique or whatever it is you happen to be doing that the dog's misinterpreting. I've talked about this particularly in the when I talk about punishment. If the dog knows something good is going to happen, they're going to do that behavior more often, and they're going to do it better. They're going to do it longer. If they're used to being punished, they're only going to do enough to not get punished. It comes down to, do you want a happy dog, or do you just want a dog that's there? And if that's the case, why do you even have a dog? I want a really bonded relationship with my dog. I don't want them to live in fear of me. I want them to do what I ask them to because I've asked them to, not because they're afraid they're going to get punished. So just some of my thoughts on it. Again, I think you should be your dog's favorite toy. I think they should be excited to work for you. So that's kind of my takeaway from this one. So I guess we'll leave it there for this week. Thank you for joining me. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, please subscribe. And if you really enjoyed it, pass it on, share it with your friends or anybody else you think might find this interesting. And again, if you have any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to hear me talk about, you can email me at bishopsgatetraining@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment. And we'll see you next week.